talking about there. I told you we're going to tell you a little bit about why we're in business. The video showed a little bit about that. I'm going to talk a little bit about what we do for clients and why we make a difference for them. And then Francis is going to get up and talk a little bit about the end of the video where I talked about people that we're looking for to interview. So I do have a question though for those of you that are sitting here in the first couple rows. How many of you were invited down because somebody referred you to us? Anybody get a referral from us or something like that? Okay. How many of you were invited down because you're already clients and maybe the person that helped you invited you to come down and take a look at our office? No? Okay. How many of you were kind of tricked into it by one of your friends or family members? So the last group is the one that we always ask to is how many of you have no idea why you're here? We usually get a few of those. Okay. So hopefully by the time you leave here today, you'll understand why we invited you down here. I was telling somebody, I think it was Casey, that we don't do any advertising. Now, how many of you ever seen a commercial for a company called Transamerica? Have you ever seen a commercial like that? Some people have. Transamerica has a lot of different companies. One of them is their life insurance company, one of them is their retirement services company, and they do commercials once in a while, so you might see them on TV. We are the independent financial advisors, not just for Transamerica, though we also represent over 150 companies. So you're going to see a little bit about that today. Obviously, we're not going to show you all of them, but I would encourage you, if nothing else, if you don't do anything else today, hopefully you can walk away with some type of an education, maybe to help yourself, maybe to help somebody else. We are going to give you an opportunity to meet with one of us if you'd like to do that today, answer even more questions for you. All of you should have a white card that we gave you to fill out if you want to have any of that kind of stuff done. And then real quick, I wanted to just expand on what Jaira was saying about my background. I'll actually have my 17th anniversary next month here in the company, but I had a previous career. She mentioned Caterpillar, those are not the little insects, the big yellow machines. And I started working at Caterpillar when I was 16. My dad gave me a part-time summer job there, and I basically never left. You know, I went back to high school, finished high school, I went to college, but all the time I was working at Caterpillar. And I kept getting promoted, so you know, I was watching some of my friends go to school and get all this college debt, and they'd come out of college, and I was making more money than they were when they graduated, and I kept thinking to myself, you know, I don't know if I really want to take on a lot of debt, so I went to a small little college called Rio Hondo College. Anybody hear that? Right? And it was right down the street from the dealership, so I didn't have to drive very far. And so my dealership was in Whittier, so, but it was actually a really good career. I made good money. I met my wife on a company trip while I was there, so really some good things happened there. But one thing happened was Caterpillar is very interesting. It's kind of like they're operated almost like car dealerships. So every franchise, they actually call it a franchise, is owned, independently owned. And our dealer was owned by third generation of the grandson of the person that started it, was running it. And you guys anybody ever work in a family-owned business before? Okay. So in this business, even though it was a huge company, all of the higher-up positions were family members. And I worked myself up from, I used to work in the warehouse, sweeping floors pretty much, pulling parts. And I worked myself up to what we call a regional sales manager. And I was in charge of 28 salespeople. I had 5 branch stores that I was in charge of. My division of the company, which was parts and service, did somewhere between $40 and $60 million. It doesn't sound like a lot to you, but it was a lot to our owner. And so that was basically my job. And I got promoted almost every year until I reached the age of 30. And then I got my last promotion that I would ever get there. Now, when they give you your last promotion, they don't call in the office and say, "Congratulations, this is your last promotion that you're ever going to get." So I kept trying to get promoted. I worked as hard as I could. Like I said, I went back to school. I thought if I had maybe some kind of a degree, they'd promote me. But in the back of my mind, I just figured, because I'd always worked hard, and I always figured the harder I worked, sooner or later they're going to have to give me a chance, right? Well, they never did. I worked the last 9.5 years in the same job, same office. Anybody ever do the same job for 10 years or more? Okay. What do you think happens to people, Gordon, after they've been in the same job for 10 years? Bored, yeah. I got bored. I basically did the same thing every day. It wasn't learning anything. And so, but that's not why I left. I probably would have still been there, except for the fact that I met my wife, and we had our 2 sons, and I finally realized, once I got married and had kids, I finally realized how many hours I was actually spending there. I was the first manager there. I was the last one to leave. I volunteered for all the trips. Caterpillar's factories are in Peoria, Illinois. Anybody ever been in Peoria before? Okay. Peoria, Illinois, which it's about 150 miles southeast of Chicago, and that's where all their factories are. And so we used to have to go once a year. We would take clients there. They always love to see the factories. Well, imagine seeing the factories like for 20 years in a row. After a while, they get kind of boring too, right? And then we had a proving ground in Tucson, Arizona, where we took clients to actually go, drive the equipment so they could test it out and stuff. So we had to go there once a year. And then I traveled to all 5 of my branch stores. My farthest client was a 3.5-hour drive one way. So I would have to go up there and spend the night and come back. When I was on a trip, it was like a day, sometimes as long as 2 weeks I'd be gone away from my family. Now, when I didn't have a family, that was okay, but when I had kids, I realized that my future was going to be never seeing them grow up. So, but I kept plugging away. I kept thinking, well, one of these days they'll still promote me, right? And something happened in 1999. I have 2 boys, and during that year, they were, I guess they were 7 and 2. My youngest one was just starting, my oldest one was starting T-ball. My youngest son, who Jared mentioned plays ice hockey, he used to play roller hockey. He got in his first roller hockey league when he was 3, actually. He was just, actually, I think he was 2. And so I had to travel. Does everybody remember something called Y2K? Yes. Okay. So Caterpillar decided that all of our computers were going to blow up, right, in 2000. So they started on the East Coast, and they had 77 Caterpillar dealers, and they had to redo all of their computer systems. So they started on the East Coast. We were the last dealer to get changed over, and it was December of 1999. So they asked for volunteers, and they needed 2 volunteers to go to Peoria. 1 for our parts department, 1 for our service department. And I volunteered for the parts department because that's what I kind of knew more. But nobody volunteered for the service department. So guess who volunteered for the second week? I did. So I was gone a week before Christmas. I came back for Christmas, and then I was gone another week. And that's when I realized that I didn't want to do this anymore. I didn't want to not see my kids grow up. I didn't want them to be one of those kids that was looking in the stands for their dads and not seeing them anywhere. So that's when I decided to leave. And I put out a resume, and I was lucky enough to get an interview with this company. At this time, they were just starting an office in Diamond Bar, and I live in Walden. So I figured at least I didn't have to travel anymore. And I got an interview. So very similar to what you're seeing today. That's what I took a look at. So fast forward, I'm going to be in my 17th year. My youngest son is a sophomore at Cal State Fullerton. He still plays ice hockey. They have an ice hockey team. Nobody knows they have an ice hockey team, but they do. You knew that. Like Jairo was said, ever since he started playing ice hockey when he was 6, and he got pretty good at it, and he was in a travel league. Anybody have kids in travel sports before? Yeah, well, ice hockey's not a real popular sport, so when they say travel, they really mean travel. Like his league was the state of California. We went from San Diego up to Vacaville. Anybody ever been to Vacaville? That was the farthest we went north. And then he went on tournaments every year. We would go to Chicago, Canada, Arizona every year, Vegas. And in all those years that he played ice hockey, I never missed one of his games. And if I would have stayed at Caterpillar, I never would have saw any of his games. And then my older son played high school football. I was talking to Casey. If you can't tell, Casey was a football player too. My oldest son. Both of my kids are a lot bigger than me, and I don't know how that didn't come from me, obviously. But my older son, when he was in 8th grade, he was 6 feet tall and he weighed 235 pounds. And the high school, which was right across the street, wanted him to play football. He'd never played football in his life, other than me throwing the ball to him once in a while. So he got put on the freshman football team, which is obvious because he never played before. Some of you will know this, but do you know when the freshman football game starts, what day of the week? I know Casey probably knows. What day of the week? Thursday, and what time?
3 o'clock.
Yeah. He actually, right when he got out of his last class, they would get on the field and start practicing. And I remember going to his games and sitting in the stands, and I'd see all these parents and dads start showing up second quarter, sometimes after halftime, trying to get off work just to catch the last couple of minutes of the game. Yeah, probably none of them, right? So, but I was one of the dads that was in there in the stands and, watching these football games. And then I also was a parent volunteer. Everybody know what a parent volunteer is at school? Yeah, I was a parent volunteer from 1st to 5th grade, my younger son. And so I would go to the classroom, and it's so funny, it was in 1st grade, I used to actually watch the kids learn how to read. Gordon's a school teacher, he kind of knows what I'm talking about. And I would volunteer in the library. I would actually check in books for the kids, but I got a chance to read to my son's class when they came in. I was because the librarian had to read the same book 6 times during the day because she had 6 classes coming in. So when I would come in one day, she just said, "Hey, would you like to read to the kids?" So I started reading to the kids instead of checking in books. And then I would take them lunch once a week too. I would actually take them lunch while on those little benches that they sit on. I would take them lunch over there once a week. My wife said I spoiled them, but I only did it once a week. Basically, during those 5 or 6 years that I was a parent volunteer, I went on all the field trips. Guess how many dads I saw there in the 5 years I was there? I was the only one. Never ran into another dad. I saw some stay-at-home moms, or some of them, but I never saw another dad there. So this company allowed me to. I still work hard. I've worked hard since I was 16, but now I get to work the hours that I want to work, not the hours that my company tells me that I have to. So actually, Francis is going to talk about that at the end. So I'm going to talk about what we do for families. Do I need a clicker? Oh, there it is. Thank you. A little bit about what we do for families.
Yeah, probably point it over here. This way.
Point it at you. So Transamerica, I was asking some people if they've heard of Transamerica before. It's kind of funny, we have a little timeline there that talks about when Transamerica was started. The actual original company was started in 1906. And you can Google a guy named A.P. Giannini if you want to hear the whole story. He talks about, well, he's not around anymore, but they talk about how he got started. So I'm not going to go through all that. I'm just going to talk a little bit about what we do. Oh, sorry. So World Financial Transformation. So we have a mission. I was telling you a little bit about why we're in business. And our mission is to help families from all walks of life build a better future. So basically what that means is we were started almost 25 years ago because we felt like there was a need, not just a need, we felt like there was the financial industry, which had been around for hundreds of years, unfortunately was not helping everybody. Not everybody was getting the same help. Not everybody was getting the same advice. We felt that the financial industry was biased, and they were biased towards wealthy people. So we decided to start a company that would help everybody else. Now, we do help wealthy people, but our main client base is middle to lower income families. That's what we do. So consider these options as we're getting started here. And that's why on your cards, if anything here resonates with you and you think there should have been somebody here listening to this, just write their name down. We'll figure out how we can get a hold of them later. So do you know someone who could benefit from our message? And then the second one is, can the information help you? So you and your family, if you see anything in here that you feel like might help you, make sure you write that down, because that'll be something you want to ask when you meet with us if you do. And then last thing, are you intrigued by the business? That part is the part that Francis is going to talk about when we get some here. Sorry. Okay. So strength of our company. So we are owned by a much, much larger company called Aegon. If you go on the stock market, it's AEG is their stock symbol. And they've been around, I think since the 1800s. They originally financed the Transcontinental Railway that went from California to, I guess, the East Coast. And so they've been around a long time. And these are just some of the Transamerica companies that they own. We talked a little about World Financial Group is our marketing industry. They also handle our insurance brokerage. Transamerica, you've already heard of them. We handle, Transamerica handles the securities division. They're our broker-dealer. So we're part of the Aegon Group, a global financial organization. And most of the companies that we're in business with do life insurance, pensions. They are in 25 different markets across the globe. They have a market capitalization. Some of you that watch the stock market, that means what are their actual stocks worth? $14.79 billion. And they operate out of Transamerica in the United States. They are one of the, among the top 10 largest providers of all of these different types of products. And that's just Transamerica. We actually are in business with 150 other financial companies too. I'll show you those in a second. Some of them, not all of them. Okay, here's why. That's the next slide. So Transamerica, you already talked a little bit about them up there on top. Pacific Life, if you ever watch any sporting events on TV, they do a lot of advertising on, and sponsoring of sporting events. They sponsor the Pac-12, Olympics, PGA golf, some of the NASCARs, you'll see them on there too. And Voya used to be called ING, so they're doing a lot of commercials now about the little orange dollar bills, and they fold them up to look like animals. You know, you ever see those commercials? That's, used to be called ING, they're now called Voya. And Prudential, you guys all heard of The Rock before? They do a lot of advertising. This is our life insurance division, or Transamerica's life insurance division. Nationwide, some of you have seen the Nationwide commercials. Who's the quarterback that does those commercials? Hey, man, thank you. Yeah. I like the one where he's in the restaurant, everybody starts singing the song, and he finally has to sing it at the end. And then American Funds and Allianz, those are some of our investment and annuity companies. And so there's some of the things that these companies do. And you may have heard of these. Some of you may even own these types of products: IRAs, annuities, mutual funds, life insurance, long-term care, college plans, 401ks, and there's a lot of other stuff. Pretty much we have every single financial product out there, either through us or through one of our affiliated companies. Okay, so mission and vision. We have a mission of no family left behind. I think that was started in the school districts, right? No student left behind. So we kind of borrowed that a little bit, but we feel like especially the middle to lower income families are not being helped. And that's one of the reasons that we started our company, as I said. So what is the difference between a middle income family and a wealthy family, other than money, right? They obviously make more money. So middle income in America is usually $100,000 or less. Most of them work for a living. They have a job that pays them a salary. They usually have a 401k at work, maybe some term life insurance, and most of their life insurance is usually through work. I think Casey was talking to me a little bit about that too. They usually rent a home. A lot of people think about it. If you live in Southern California and you make less than $100,000 a year as a household, it's pretty hard to own a home, which is great. They put money in the bank because most people, that's what people put their money. They do have credit card debt. We see a lot of that. They don't really get a lot of tax advantages because they don't know how to make their money work for them typically. And they don't have an advisor. 70% of the people in this group have never talked to an advisor. And they don't have a plan. That's the majority of the population. This is, some people call these the 98 percenters. It's everybody that doesn't have a lot of money typically. And then these would be kind of like the 2 percenters. 250,000 or more are considered wealthy, 250,000 or more. Most of them own a business. You guys ever drive around your neighborhood and you see the houses on the very top hills, the really big houses? You ever drive by there and think, what do these people do for a living? How can they afford this? Well, most of them probably don't work at a job. They probably own some type of a business. They have a different kind of life insurance called permanent. I'll show you that in a second. They usually own their own home. Their savings are diversified. In other words, they don't have everything in a bank. They have different places that they put their money.
Hold on, besides the register.
I'll point this way.
There you go. Is it going to be that every time I talk too long? Most of them are if they're not debt free, they're trying to become debt free, including their mortgages. They have tax advantages, and almost a very, very high percent of them have a financial professional like us that is helping them, and that's a small percent of the population. Okay, we'll go a little faster here. So what are the financial courses? These are concepts that we teach people. It's funny. I met one of my agents had me go out and talk to one of a client that we run across, and she was in her 50s. And my agent asked her, what's your most important financial goal? So this lady in her 50s, she's actually got quite a bit of money saved. She takes care of her mom. Her mom has a trust with a lot of money in it. And she said, my number one financial goal, and she's taking care of her mom's finances. My number one financial goal is to get a financial education. That's what she said. Isn't that crazy, and I hear that a lot nowadays. You know, people just don't know where to go to get that kind of an education. So we teach people this, the cornerstones. Cornerstones, I'll go through all 4 of them here in a second. So protecting, growing your money, having safety, and getting tax advantages. So, okay. So life insurance. We kind of call life insurance does a lot of things. Protection is, we protect 2 things. We protect people's money and we protect their income. So life insurance is what we call income protection. There's a lot of different kinds of insurance you can get. You know, there's up there disability, long-term care. You can get a life insurance that'll help you with retirement and obviously life insurance too. So what can life insurance do for you? Well, they have something called living benefits. Living benefits allow you to use life insurance not just when you pass away. Living benefits are just what it says. It's why you're still alive. So they can be used for things like long-term care, disability. Some life insurance will actually help you retire, help you get your kids through college. And they can supplement retirement, replace your income for independence, final expenses, inheritance. Life insurance can pay your estate taxes, and you can also fund charitable contributions. My aunt has never had any kids, and I did a life insurance policy for her, and I said, because she was trying to use the money for something else, and I said, well, who do you want your beneficiaries to be? So her beneficiary, she loves cats. And her beneficiary is a local cat shelter. That's her beneficiary. So it's pretty funny what she said. And so there's basically, if you look at this is something that we teach people, because most people, I'll just give you my own personal story. So when I started working here, one of the things, obviously I wanted to get out of my job, but one of the benefits of working here was that I learned how to take care of my own personal finances. So here I was making pretty good money. I had a 401k at work, just like everybody else did at Caterpillar. I did have life insurance because I knew when I got married that I needed to get life insurance. But the guy that sold me my life insurance was my wife's car insurance salesman, and he knew very little about life insurance. So when I went to talk to him, this is so funny, I remember this today. I didn't even talk to him when I made the appointment. I talked to his secretary. Came into the office, he'd never met me before. I guess he didn't even know how I got his phone number, which I got from my wife. And he didn't ask me if I was married, didn't ask me if I had kids, didn't ask me how much money I made. The only question he asked me was, how much do you want to spend for your life insurance? So I had actually already done some research on the internet. So I knew I could get, I think it was like a $250,000 policy. I was a lot younger back then, for like $25 a month. I was like probably Chris's age. And so I told him $25, because that was the first thing I thought of. So he sold me a policy for $25 a month. Now I didn't know anything about life insurance, so after I qualified for the policy, they mailed it to me. Came in the mail. I never opened it, because even if I would have opened it, I wouldn't have even known what I was reading anyway. So I stuck it in the file just like everybody else does. So when I started working here, Christopher, who's not here today, was the guy that started training me when I got here. He went to my wife and I, and he said, "Do you guys have life insurance?" I said, "Oh yeah, I bought life insurance years ago," I told him, when I got married. He goes, "Do you have a policy?" And I said, "Yeah, I think I had to ask my wife, because my wife filed it, I didn't know what it was." So he was the first one that ever opened it. He was the first one that ever And he said, "Did you know that your life insurance is going to run out when your kids are 18 and 13? And I said, "No." So the guy sold me a policy, which is what I asked for $25 a month. But what he didn't tell me is it wasn't going to last through my kids' college. Also, I found out after he did a financial plan for us that I was about, I had 1/3 the coverage that I needed. So if I would have passed away during those 10 years that I had that policy, my family would have been pretty much bankrupt. Because I didn't even know how much that I should have got, right? So I became a client from this company immediately because I needed to. So anyway, so that's a difference. I had this kind of policy, which doesn't mean there's anything wrong with it. It's a lot less expensive. It's called term. But the difference is it doesn't last your whole life. The other one, which is called permanent, does. So again, no right or wrong. It's just they're used for different things. And again, if you have any questions about this, you can meet with us afterwards. So, all right. This was mentioned a little bit in the video. It's called the Rule 72. So I'm curious, because I know we have some people that were in education here. How many of you have heard of the Rule 72 before? Not the people in the back, because you work here, but the people who don't. Okay. You have? Easy? Good. Okay. So Rule 72 is very simple. If you have any money at all, that's in a place where it's earning interest, you just take your interest rate. So let's say you have money in a bank. We're being a little generous over here because it's actually easier math. But if a bank was paying you 1%, which they don't, if you go to a website called bankrate.com, they'll tell you that the average bank is paying 0.25%, a quarter of 1%. But it makes the math easier, so we'll just round it up to 1. So if you had $10,000 and you were 29 years old, and you put that money in the bank and you left it there, never touched it, you divide 1 into 72, in 72 years your $10,000 will double to 20. You'll be 101 years old. You guys laugh, but do you know where the #1 place is where people have money? It's in a bank. Isn't that crazy? And it's also getting taxed. We're not going to go over the taxes later. So this money's getting taxed if it's in a bank. So what does the bank do with that money when you give them the $10,000? Do they just put it in their safety deposit box and hope that if you make it to 101, they're going to give you your $20,000? What do banks do with money? Invest in. Right? Credit cards, mortgages, car loans. They also invest in the market. Actually, this will shock you, but the #1 place where banks invest money is in insurance companies. Kind of funny. Anyway, so do you think that the bank can loan out on a credit card and make 10%? That's actually, the average credit card is 18.5, just so you know. So if they invested your $10,000 and they made 10% in the same amount of time, that means I'm talking too long. In the same amount of time, if you divide 10 into 72, it equals 7.2. So instead of doubling in 72 years, every 7.2 years the money's going to double. So now this doesn't go all the way to 101, but we could double it one more time probably. Every 7.2 years that money's doubling. So by the time, not by the time you're 101, by the time you're 72, you have 640,000 if you were the bank. So one of the things we teach people is how to make more money on their money. How to put money away where it's going to earn at least 5%, hopefully up to 10. Okay, so real quick. The video showed something called the Great Recession, which was started by the collapse of the stock market, right? 2008, I think it was right around October or November, the market crashed. Some of you are shaking your heads because it's probably pretty painful to remember that, but the average 401k lost almost 50%. Half of its wealth was gone within 1 year. And the problem with the 401k is a lot of 401ks have restrictions on how fast you can move your money around. So even if you thought you could have got out of it, you would have had to keep it in there and just watch it go down until you could move it. Isn't that sad? So about 50%. And this doesn't really make logical sense, but if you thought about it, if you had $1 in the stock market and it dropped 50%, how much would you have? 50 cents. Right? So it dropped 50%. If it goes back up 50%, how much would you have? And some of you guys are watching that. Thanks for reading it. But most people would say it has to go 50% for me to get my dollar back, right? Because it went down 50, if it goes back 50. But if you only have, this uses dollars, if it's $100 and you lost $50, you have $50 less. $50 times 50% is only 75. So you'd have to actually go up 100% to get your $100 back. So when the market crashed, it took 8 years for it just to get back to where it was before. Do you think everybody just left their money in there and just said, okay, one of these days it's going to come back? No, most people didn't get the 100% because they weren't in the market anymore. They pulled their money out. They didn't want it. They were afraid that it might go down. So that's one of the things that we teach people is how to protect their money. I think it's on the next slide here. Yeah, so this is the stock market going all the way back to 1926. Now, some of you may remember this, I don't know if you do, but in 1929, there was an even bigger crash than we had here. It was called the Great Depression. The market crashed even more as a percent. But this is showing small companies, large companies, government bonds, treasury bills, and the inflation rate. And all the way back from 1926 all the way out to 2014. And it's talking about all these lines in here. Basically the lines just mean, here's what they mean. The market goes up and the market goes down. And if you could predict that, you would be wealthy, right? But one of the things we do is we put something called protection on people's money. Protection means we actually can have people participate in the market when the market goes up, but eliminate all of their losses. So imagine if all those people in 2008 that lost 50% of their money, what if they would have just stayed where they were? Not lost a dime, you think they'd be better off today?
Yes.
That's one of the things that we do to help people. Okay, almost done. So this is what we call the 3 tax boxes. Anybody learning anything today? Casey knew some of this stuff already. Yeah, so this is what we call the 3 tax boxes. This one, you know, anybody here a tax preparer? Some tax preparers know these rules. So there's 3 ways, if you save money, there's 3 ways that the government allows you, that's funny, will let you pay your taxes. One of them is you can pay them now every year. So what kind of account would you have where you had to pay taxes every year? Well, a bank account. If you make any money in a bank, they send you that little form at the end of the year. It's called a 1099 INT, and it says that you made, you know, $5 worth of interest or whatever, and you have to claim that on your income tax. So imagine that, something that you made very little on anyway, you're going to pay whatever your income tax rate is that year. Isn't that crazy? People don't know that. What I just told you right now, most people don't know. CDs are the same way, because a CD is taxed every year. And if you own a stock or a mutual fund, not in your retirement account, let's say you bought it or you inherited it or something like that, those are taxed every year too. It's a different tax rate, it's called capital gains, but it's still taxed. Taxable every year. If you took that same stock or that same mutual fund and you put it in a 401k, you just eliminated one of your taxes. You don't get taxed every year. It's now tax deferred, which is the second box, tax later. And nothing wrong with that account because it does save you some money on your taxes now, right? But the trade-off is you're going to pay all your taxes at the end. So in this account, you've already paid your taxes when you put the money in, right? It's after-tax money. In this account, you didn't. So you got the benefit of not paying taxes, but guess what you're going to get when you retire? All of your taxes are going to get paid. That's called a tax later account. And then tax advantage. Oh, I'm sorry. So 401ks, IRAs, SEP IRAs, annuities, and pension plans all fall into that tax later account. Right? I like this stuff. Keeping me on time. And then tax advantage would be things like Roth IRAs, municipal bonds. You've ever heard of tax-free bonds? That's what those are. And then life insurance. Life insurance is not taxed. Life insurance is not taxed when the money's growing, and it's also not taxed when you pass away, or if you wanted to leave that money, or if you want to use it for yourself. So those are real good things to learn about. Again, if you want to meet with one of us. This is what our financial analysis looks like. This is what we do. This is actually the only product that we have. All of our products are provided by us by all those companies that you saw at the very beginning. But this is something that we developed ourselves, and it's called a financial needs analysis. And basically, we go through all 6 of these areas. The first one is cash flow. Cash flow is very similar to if you own a company, it'd be your profit and loss statement, your P&L. That's what cash flow is. We teach people how to, one, know what their cash flow is. A lot of the families that we meet with don't have a budget, and they also, believe it or not, if they're married, typically they don't talk about how much money they make to each other. And unfortunately, it's hard to know what your cash flow is if you don't know how much money you're making and you don't know how much you're spending. Matter of fact, it's impossible. So we actually put that into a plan so at least people can look at it. You know, it's probably very important to know if you're in what's called a negative cash flow situation. That's important to know. But what's more important to know is how do I fix that? How do I not spend more than I make? Or how do I lower my expenses so that I'm not spending more than I make? Or how do I make more money? That's one of the things we teach people. So emergency fund, we recommend 3 to 6 months in a liquid account. Think about how much income your family makes every month and multiply that by 6 times. That's about how much you should have in a liquid account just in case you have an emergency. That's what it's for, unexpected expenses. But you know what? There's also a positive to that. Think about it. If you had 6 to 12 months saved, one, you probably wouldn't have to borrow money anymore. But secondly, what if something came up? What if you had a great deal on some guy's, you know, your next door neighbor said, hey, I'm trying to get rid of my house. I'll sell it to you for 50% of what it's worth. And you had this money sitting in the bank, you know, or somebody came by and said, whatever. It could be a vacation. Anything that you're going to spend money on, relatively quickly is what we call an emergency fund. And then debt. We try to help people get out of debt. I love this one here. It's a pair of scissors cutting up a credit card. It's a good one. We help people eliminate their debt. And actually, one of the ways we do that is by having an emergency fund. Because if people have 6 months worth of savings and they have an emergency, let's say they have no savings, and the car breaks down, or the refrigerator breaks down, how do most people pay for that? Credit card. You ever heard anybody say my credit card is my emergency fund? I've had people say that too. Isn't that crazy? They already know that's what they're going to do. So what this does, it eliminates the need to have credit cards. Property protection, we talked a little bit about that. That's life insurance. And we also protect people's money. We talked about that too. Building wealth is eventually one of these days, hopefully getting our clients to the point to where they don't have to worry about money anymore. You remember in the video they talked about the #1 fear that people have today. I remember when I was in first starting out at Caterpillar, the #1 fear, more than death, was public speaking. But actually, what I'm doing right now. But that's been replaced now. Does anybody remember what it was in the video? 61. Outliving your money. 61% are more afraid of outliving their money than dying. It's pretty sad. What if we could eliminate that for them, not having to worry about their money lasting, or at least having their money last as long as they? Do you guys realize there's products that will allow you, no matter how much money you have, they can guarantee that you'll never run out of money. There's products that do that. And then preserving your wealth. If you would like to pass things on, you know, I have a married couple that they've been my client for like 9 years, and they're retired now. And one of their goals is to pass their house on to their kids. And it's so funny. One of their kids works for a big financial company. He's a market analyst. And when they never told their kids that they wanted to pass their house on. And he said, I don't want your house because that's a huge tax burden for me. But there are ways to pass things on to people without the burden of the taxes. Okay, it's called a living trust. We can help you with that too. Okay, I think that was my last slide. Yes, this is my last slide. What I'm going to do is I'm going to ask one of our senior brokers to come up and introduce Francis. Francis is been in the company not too long, but he's reached what we call a chief executive officer with the company. And I want to make sure that we do a really good job of introducing him. So I want to bring up Ricky Montez here. Ricky, are you there?
Jim, do a good job? Yeah. So the next thing is here for a treat. What Jim talked about was who we are as a company and what we do for families. What Francis is going to talk about is how you make money. Who wants to make some money?
Yeah!
All right. But here's what he did. He had no experience in the financial services. He actually came from a background, a missionary in China, and he had a nursing background, and he came into the States. I'm not going to go into his whole story because I don't want to take away his thunder, but here's the gist of it. In the first 8 months in the company, he made $120,000. Real quick, 6-figure earner. Currently, he's the CEO. Was now recognized on the cover of Business and Finance. He was also recognized in Forbes magazine, right? He's about to retire his wife at the age of 42 years old. She's having a retirement party. So I want all you wives to look at your husband and say, why not you? And one of his goals, I mean, he has a heart. He has great integrity. He has a great moral character. And what he wants to do is not only help families, but help his business partners make money. He's making over $700,000 right now. And he told me one of my goals is for you, Ricky, to make more than me. So what we're going to do is pray that he hits his goal. So I want to introduce to you right now, Mr. Francis Hall, our CEO.
Second job is stand-up comedy. So good morning.
Good morning.
You know, it was actually I was sitting there listening to Jim, and Jim did a great job. I know I could not choose someone else to go through the concept the way Jim did. So much experience, and actually I learned quite a bit from Jim when I was brand new in the company, so I still continue to learn. Once in a while I pop into his office and ask him. But you know, it was exactly this Saturday 6 years ago that I came to this office. Just down the road was our old office in Chino. 6 years ago. That was February 2011. Now, if you came here today, like for our guests, if you came here today wanting to change your life, you're in the right spot. If you came here today wanting to know how money works, this is the right spot. If you came here today wanting to know how can I change my legacy, this is the right spot. I believe, and our company believes, that every American, when the forefathers came to this land, they wanted them to be free. But freedom is not just political freedom. Our company believes that freedom is total freedom, including financial freedom. I mean, we're the wealthiest country in the world, and if you're living paycheck to paycheck, that's not freedom. If you're down in debt, that's slavery. Our company believes that that should not be the experience of every American. No one should be left behind. That's the belief of our company. Our company believes that you deserve, every American deserves, the happiness that the forefathers created this country for. And it comes with quality of life. And quality of life does not come from working for someone else. I was born in a family that I've never worked for someone else until I came to the United States and became a nurse. And that's when I realized I wasn't cut to work for someone else. My dad, when he came here in 73, actually no, 77, he lasted for 3 months. Went back to the Philippines. He said, I don't want to wash my clothes. I don't want to cook my own food. I don't want to wash my own car. You know, 100 years ago, 9 out of 10 Americans are entrepreneurs. 100 years forward, 9 out of 10 Americans are employees. There's a book called Ignite, written by David Kim. If you love Baja Fresh, he's the guy who started it, not a Mexican. A Korean started Baja Fresh. Right? No wonder there's some kimchi in there too. But he wrote this book. He said, the financial system in America was never created for an employee to become financially independent. If you want to be financially free, you need to own your own business. And that, as a company, is what we believe. You can change your legacy. I came here in 2003. Until now, I still could not understand football. Right? I still don't know what's going on with that game. But I completely changed my legacy. Completely changed my life. I retired from nursing 6 years ago, and I've never looked back. Someone asked me the other day, you miss nursing? I said, not a second. If you want to change your life, today could be your day. And let me show you how that will happen, how our company will do that too. Are you guys ready?
Ready.
Yes.
All right. I like it when I have a pastor in front of me. Amen, Pastor?
Amen.
Oh, there you go. The church is in session. Point over there. There you go. If you have a chance to invest with Gerber Baby Food 30 years ago, would you have done it? Because Gerber right now is multi-billion company. Now Jim talked a little bit about the baby boomer generation. I see some of you in the room. I don't want to ask you to raise your hand. But you are the greatest generation that ever happened in the United States. 90% of the world's, of America's wealth is owned by the baby boomer generation. Sadly though, 6 out of 10 baby boomers are more afraid of living than dying, as Jim mentioned. They're more afraid of living than dying. Why is that? And I'll tell you why later. Every company that followed the baby boomer generation, from Gerber Baby Food, Mattel Toys, In-N-Out, McDonald's, every company that followed, every industry that followed the baby boomer generation pretty much exploded. They exploded, right? So if you could go back 30, 40 years ago, that would have been a great investment of your time, of your money, be in that position. What do you think is the #1 need of the baby boomers now? Obvious, retirement and healthcare, specifically long-term care. So when I was working as a nurse, I see baby boomers, I work with them. They treat me like their own child. In fact, they feed me all the food that I need. I don't bring lunch. I just eat with them. And I noticed that they make a lot of money and save a lot of money, but they have no clue on what to do with that money. In fact, when 2008 came and many of them lost a lot of money, I quickly realized that if I understood how money works, I can help them and I can also meet a great need in the market. And that's what I did. I understood it. I studied it. And so the baby boomers basically, 10,000 of them are retiring every day and they don't know what to do with their money. And so what's important with that is there's a great wave coming right now. A great financial wave. It has never happened in the history of the world. You're talking about trillions of money that's about to be moved. It's slowly moving now. And in the United States, every time there's a movement of money, there is compensation. And if you can catch that wave, you will change your life. You will change your legacy. That's what happened to me and my wife. You know, when we were missionaries in China, we were giving out $300 and we still, a month, can save money doing that. When we came to the United States, we only have 4 suitcases and $8,000. That's it. That's all we had. Went to seminary. In fact, you know, we put our own money, we save our money, and we put it in there. I said, I'm never going to touch that money. That will be for retirement. So what I did, who's married in the room? Who wish they were married? Who wish they were never married? When I was in seminary, because we were saving that money, I have no work, I am a full-time student, but I love my wife, so I would collect tin cans, water bottles, empty water bottles, collect them, and take them to Stater Brothers, recycle, get some money to buy flowers for my wife. See, the ladies appreciate it. The guys don't appreciate it. But that's a humble beginning. From almost nothing to now having a 7-figure estate and allowing my wife to retire at age 42. It's going to be fun. I'm going to send a limo on her last day at work in our hospital, take her to our house to celebrate her last day in the hospital. If you want to change your life, you can. You just have to change the way you think. And as I tell you about the baby boomers, there's a great shortfall on people going to serve the baby boomers. You know that nearly half of financial advisors are over 55. In 10 years, a third of them will retire. There's going to be a shortfall of 200,000 people servicing the baby boomers. Or the Gen X and the millennials. The entire financial industry has a shortfall. Is there a shortfall of realtors? Lawyers? Some people call them liars. Hopefully there's no lawyer in the room, sorry. But this is one industry, by the way, if you Google it, in Yahoo Finance, you'll find that the #1 industry that's taking over the United States right now is the finance industry. A lot of people are into this because of that great need. Now, if you position yourself in understanding that and being trained for that, guess what? 5 to 10 years here will take care of you the rest of your time. That's what happens here. My wife and I can technically retire today if we wanted to. But there's a lot of families that need it. And so I'm so glad that I made a change. Because if I hadn't, I would still be the grumpy nurse that you see in ICU. I mean, I was dragging my feet to work, literally. I'm depressed every time I go to work. Any one of you work in that kind of environment? You see them every day, right? They said, employees just do enough so that they don't get fired, and employers pay enough so they don't lose their employees. That's not the kind of life you want to have. If you believe like I do, that you deserve better than what you're being paid for, this could be the place for you. Now, but you'll say, I'm not a financial guy. Well, I'm a nurse when I started here. There's no financial experience necessary here. Why? Because we have a system and a mentorship that will compensate for your lack of financial knowledge. Not only that, you have a lot of, you have no time clock here. If you can make money, good money, and no one is dictating when you can go in and when you can leave, that's a great scenario, right? One of the things that I hated when I was a nurse is clocking in, clocking out, and if I go too early, I get a letter from my boss. If I go too late, I'm reprimanded for clocking in late. I said, I'm done with that. And I'm also so done with when I wanted to go on a vacation, I have to ask for permission from another adult. And if I don't get a replacement, I don't get to go. So who said that that should be your life? Unfortunately, though, when you're an employee, that's your life. I mean, thank God that you have a job. Be grateful for that. But if you are ready to move beyond that, you're in the right room today. We're the only one of the, probably one of the two or few company that provides a free analysis of your situation. Last night, a nurse and a teacher came to my office, and basically they were blown away by the idea that we just don't sell products. That we actually analyze people's situation, do a thorough assessment in order to give them the right recommendation. And so who wants to go to a doctor that will give you a heart medication when your problem is your kidney? No one likes a car salesman, right? Because they sell you. That's not who we are. When we sit down with the family, Jim showed you the 6 steps of financial independence, that what we do when we educate people. So education is our approach. We will provide you with an equal opportunity. You can be 75-year-old here, or you can be 18-year-old here, and you have an equal playing field. If you want to do that with Morgan Stanley, they have an age limit, baby boomers in the room. You cannot just go there at a certain age. And you cannot go there and be a sometime-er. You have to be full-time, and you have to quit your job. Not here. You can be part-time here. That's pretty amazing. That's why we are revolutionizing the financial industry. What is never done before, we're doing it as a company. Now, how do we make money? Well, you did not come here today to be preached at. You want to know how to make money, right? There's 5 ways. First is you make money through the services that you provide. As a classic example, if you help a 40-year-old guy put $200 in a policy that gives him retirement, long-term care, and life insurance, if you have 4 of those in a week, in a month, you make $4,300. 4 of those in a month. It takes you at least 3 to 5 hours per person, per client. So imagine this. If you have a 5-hour work week and you make $4,000 a month, what kind of life will you have? 5-hour work week instead of 80-hour work week. Like when I was a nurse, I would work like 36 hours a week, but it feels like 80 because you're just too tired. A day before, a day after, I'm just in bed. I'm exhausted. 5-hour work week and you make 50,000. That's the median in LA. 5-hour work week and you make the same amount of money and people are driving. You know, just imagine the traffic in the morning from the IE to LA. How many hours do you spend in your entire life on traffic? Can you imagine that? Is a quality of life in there? Absolutely not. If you're a broker here, 4 families a month, that's $7,600. That's almost a 6-figure income as a broker here. That's almost that's like what I made and a little bit more when I was a nurse, but I have to work for 4 days a week, 12 hours. That kept me very busy. That kept us from getting pregnant too. Too tired to do anything. PG-13. But what if you have a management and leadership? You manage 5 people, and each of them help 4 clients a month. That's 16,000 a month. So if you can have extra money in here, extra income and less hours at work, what would your life look like? I mean, you go out there, I didn't know this until I became an advisor, that most of Americans don't live like nurses. What I meant by that is, the nurses, they belong to upper middle in the United States. They make so good money. They have so much, you know, when we go on parties, kids can go anywhere, they can go to school anywhere. But I didn't realize that the rest of America is not like that. But we have to work hard for that. But here, you can work smart. Where your time would have a higher return. The third way of making money here is this, expansion income. So now I have some professionals, some of them are here from Seattle. I have some people in Hawaii, some in Texas, some in Michigan, some in other places. I get a royalty from the businesses that they create. Bonus income. As a qualified leader in our company, there's profit sharing every month. Now, let me ask you a question. If you work so hard in your current job, what kind of profit sharing are you getting? Maybe 3% matching in your 401k? Some 401ks are not even matched anymore. Imagine this. Indulge with me for a second. You spend your life, best years of your life, 20, 30 years building someone else's business. And in fact, some of you in the room, when you're just about to retire, they fired you, so you don't get the full retirement. That's the reality. You can change that. You don't have to be a victim. You can be a victor. You just have to decide that you're going to change your life. As a broker, you earn a recurring income. You know, I start 401ks for companies. Our company can start 401k for companies. We get paid 1% every year for that. Now, one of our colleagues started the 401k for Southwest Airlines. 900 million of assets transferred to him. He gets paid 1% every year. Pretty crazy. What account? It doesn't have to be one Southwest Airlines. It could be 100 of 9 million. a small company, 100 of them, the same compensation. That compensation will give you a recurring income for the rest of your life. How about that? You know, if you have a, Gordon, what do you do? A substitute teacher. What if every student that you teach will give you a passive income for the rest of your life? That's what happened in the finance industry. You know, your car insurance guy loves to see you one time for the rest of your life.
Yep.
He signs you up one time. Every month you pay your insurance, he gets paid. That's a finance industry. That's our industry. If you're a broker here, you have 2 licenses, investment license and insurance license. You make about $6,000 to $8,000 a year, average. Highest earner is almost $600,000. My level as a CEO, average is about 472, about 500 average. And the highest is 1.9 million. Now how crazy is that? When I was a nurse, I can barely reach 150,000 and stay alive. In income, you work hard already. But here, you can have that and still have a lot of quality of life. A great quality of life. So, for you guys, for our guests, and for all associates, this is something that you guys have to think about. Is this really worth my time? Numbers speak for themselves. Not only that, look at this. My wife and I had 32 trips total the last 6 years. Paid trips by the company. There's no quota, but if you do well here, the company gives you an incentive trip. I have a friend who works with Nationwide, or a friend in Facebook. He just put it in Facebook there. He's flying down to South Beach. He said, he hit his quota. So he's flying down as an incentive from Nationwide. And in my mind, man, I had it really easy. I have no quota, and I have 5 trips. And what's interesting with that is not only do you go on the trips, but we give you a lot of recognition. And when I was a nurse, my classmate actually here in the university is a nurse. What's interesting is every year there's Nurses Week. And Cassie, in order for them to recognize you, they will give you a mug. For all your hard work for the entire year. Congratulations, Happy Nurses Week. A mug. Right? Here in a magazine. World magazine. I mean, one of the inspiration I got this year is the first Mexican millionaire in our company. He came from a very poor beginning. In fact, according to him, he was brought over the fence by his mom when he was young. From poverty to his face and his wife in a New York Times Square. Recognized by the company for doing well in the company. So if you feel like, hey, I've been working so hard in my company, I don't have the kind of recognition, and every company is like that, no. Our company is different. If you want to change your life, you just have to make the decision. So let me continue here. Jim mentioned to you about these 3 things today. Who do you know that can benefit from us? Will this benefit you? Are you intrigued by this? Now, before you guys, before I ask you these options, let me share with you the stories of Bill Gates. Bill Gates, when he was about to do his business presentation to his family and friends, he sent out 1,500 flyers to people that he know in the community that he lived in, to come to his garage so he can talk about the PC. About 800 responded they will come, 300 actually showed up. Only about 75 stayed. I'm glad that most of you stayed, all of you stayed today. And only 15 became business partners with Bill Gates. And that 15 became multi-millionaires, if not billionaires. if you had a chance, if you received a flyer from Bill Gates, would you have gone and stayed and invested with it over here? You see, opportunity is always knocking, but if you're not looking for it, you will miss it. So for our guests here, I don't know exactly why you came today. Perhaps you're just tired of being bugged by your friend. But if you're here to change your life, your legacy, this is the opportunity. Now the good thing though is this. You don't have to invest thousands of dollars to be a part of our business. We will not ask you to buy a face cream or a bottle of water that you can put in your garage every month. We're not that kind of company, as you have seen already. We're a company that to come on board, the only fee that you pay is the processing of your papers, which is $100. That's it. The rest of the requirement for you to start making money here, you pay to the state, which is your licenses. That's it. So we want to be upfront with you, $100. Not to me, not to Jim, to the company. Because you are your own business here. The company will do their background check, but the company won't spend for that because you are an independent business owner. You're not an employee here. Right? So, having said that, my grandfather, before he passed away, left me with 2 advice. And this advice is this. When you marry a Chinese. which I did. What's interesting though is he married a Filipina. The second advice he gave me is that whatever you do not let someone become wealthy off of your hard work. Learn a trade for 2 years and start your own. So our guests, our friends here today, we're giving you the opportunity to change your own legacy. It does not change our bottom line whether you come on board or not, but we want to extend that to you as an invitation. If you want to explore that further, there's, do we have the big ones? Actually, I like the bigger one. Can we have the bigger one, please? Because this one is an old one, so we want the bigger one. But for all of you guys, let's say coming on board is not an option for you. You just need help on how to straighten up your finances. As a gift today, we are giving you $500 worth of service. Is a complimentary review of your own finances. If you want to get out of debt, if you want to know how to prepare better for retirement, you know, that's provided for you, and that will be option number 1. Normally, if you work with another advisor, you will pay about $500 just to consult with them, but because you came here today and gave us a couple hours of your time, it's free for you. All you have to do is to contact the financial professional who invited you, right? Now, if you want to do that with me, I do require you to take me to lunch. But I'm just kidding. Actually work with the advisor who asked you to come to me, okay? The number 2 option is the complimentary consultation with a trained professional to review your business needs if you are a business owner. And the third option, by the way, for those complimentary services that we provide for you, we can either do it at home or our office. We normally do that within 24 to 48 hours. Now, Sunday will be tomorrow, so we can extend that offer until Tuesday. Okay, so make sure to get with your financial, professional invited you with that. He can either, work with you on that, or another advisor will work with you at home or your office. Just make sure you put the day of our office, not your office, our office, the day of the week and the time, morning or afternoon. The third option is if you want to explore how it is working with us part-time or full-time, which for me was life-changing. I did become a client of the company, but what changed my life is the opportunity. Okay? And that interview is done in our office. Normally, we will do that after 12 noon, between 12 to 5. We can accommodate a special after 5 appointment, but we do ask you to do that from now until Tuesday, because there's an urgency in what we do. Our company is rapidly expanding. Our goal is to be the McDonald's of financial industry, Starbucks of the coffee industry. We are expanding, opening up office all over the place, and we're giving you guys an opportunity to interview. Now, that is a non-committed interview. It is an interview. We're gonna seek possible fit. If it's fit for you, fit for our company, then we might work together. If it's not, that's totally fine too. So I just don't want to scare you guys away. We're not gonna sell you anything there. You mark my word. And Jim. But that is a complimentary review and an interview. That's all we ask of you guys for coming in today. And at the back will be your feedback. What did you enjoy the most? People, environment, new ideas about money, income opportunities, career opportunities. What is your most important financial goal? Is it getting out of debt? Then put that as number 6, if that's the highest. I'm sorry, number 1 in order of importance. Short-term savings, increase retirement savings, college savings, reviewing insurance needs, increasing income. And then third option there, if you were able to earn an extra $1,500 to $2,000 a month working part-time, what would you do with that extra income? Pay off your debt, retire my spouse, save for a big purchase, save for retirement, save for college. For me, the extra income that I made here opened up a retirement fund for missionaries and pastors that my wife and I were working with in China and in the Philippines. Much is given, much is required. There's nothing wrong with becoming wealthy as long as you're not the end user. Right? So as you get the blessings, pass it on. In fact, when I was brand new with WFG, I said working for God to get wealth for God. All right? So please give this to the person who invited you. Other than that, thank you so much for coming in today. God bless you.
Please stay and finish the food too before you leave. Yes. Thank you.
Ricky, is that you?
No, there's Brandon. Thank you. Brandon. Thank you.
Yeah, he's there. Oh, he's
Howdy.
Balik pa rin ka man ah.
Howdy.
I don't know if I turned this on.
There, it's off now.
Wasn't sure. Riley, hey.
Are we leaving some of it for the summit?
Ilagay ko doon. Siguro malam kung
Yes, Francis still he said he has 10. Right, so 15. I'm still where I was told. I asked before I turned out. I was going to go inside. He said, no, I'm like this.
It ain't gonna be the same. Make it right. You'll be fit. What? Oh,
yeah, let's have a meeting. City meeting. Former graduates, let's have a meeting after the meeting. Let's go to
yeah.